Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learn English with Podcast Conversation. I'm Jennifer, and with me is Thomas. Today, we'll be talking about something we all do, making a phone call in English. Whether it's a casual call to a friend or a formal conversation at work, phone calls are a great way to practice your speaking and listening skills.
That's right, Jennifer. Phone calls can be challenging, especially when you don't have the visual cues like body language to help you understand the conversation. But don't worry. In this episode, we'll guide you through common phrases, tips, and strategies to help you feel more confident when making phone calls in English.
Listening to podcasts like this one can really improve your communication skills. You'll not only learn new words and phrases, but also how to use them in real-life situations. Plus, practicing listening helps you understand different accents and ways of speaking.
Exactly. You'll also pick up on natural conversation flow, which is super important in phone calls. So, let's dive in and get started.
One of the most important parts of making a phone call is how you start it. For example, when you're calling someone for the first time, you might say, "Hello, this is Jennifer. I'm calling to report a problem with my order," and then explain the purpose of your call. It's always polite to introduce yourself and make it clear why you're calling.
That's right. A simple and clear introduction sets a positive tone for the conversation. And if you're calling someone who knows you, you can keep it casual by saying something like, "Hi, it's Thomas. How are you?" This makes the conversation more relaxed and friendly.
I agree. And if you're making a formal call, like to a business, you might say, "Good afternoon. This is Jennifer speaking. I'm calling regarding a billing issue I'm having with my account." This approach shows respect and professionalism.
Also, don't forget to ask if it's a good time to talk. You could say, "Is now a good time for you?" This shows that you're considerate of the other person's time, which is especially important in professional settings.
Sometimes, when you're on the phone, the connection might not be great, or you might miss something the other person said. In these cases, it's okay to ask for clarification. You could say, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat it, please?" Or, "I'm sorry. Could you say that again?"
Yes, and if you need more information, don't hesitate to ask. For example, "Could you explain that in more detail?" Or, "I just want to make sure I understood correctly. Did you mean to say that we should meet at 2 p.m. instead of 3 p.m.? These phrases show that you're engaged in the conversation and want to understand the other person clearly.
It's all about keeping the conversation smooth. You don't have to feel nervous if you miss something. Just politely ask for the information again. It happens to everyone.
Not all phone calls are easy. Sometimes you might have to handle a difficult conversation, like when you're giving bad news or handling a complaint. It's important to stay calm and professional in these situations.
Absolutely. You might start by saying, "I'm really sorry to inform you that your application has been declined," or, "Unfortunately, there seems to be a problem with your order." This way, you're addressing the issue directly but with a polite tone.
And when dealing with complaints, it's always good to listen carefully before responding. You could say, "I understand your frustration, and I'll do my best to help you resolve this issue." Showing empathy can go a long way in keeping the conversation positive, even in tough situations.
Ending a phone call is just as important as starting one. You want to make sure everything has been discussed before you say goodbye. You could ask, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" Or, "Was there anything else you needed to ask?"
Exactly. This shows that you're being thorough and attentive. Once everything is covered, you can close the conversation by saying, "Thanks for your time. It was great speaking with you," or, "I'll follow up with you soon."
And if it's a casual call, you can simply say, "It was nice catching up. Talk to you soon." It leaves the conversation on a friendly note. Sometimes you'll have to leave a voicemail when the person you're calling doesn't pick up. It's important to keep your message clear and concise. You could start by saying, "Hi, this is Jennifer. I'm calling to. And briefly explain the purpose of your call.
Right. Make sure to leave your name and phone number so they can call you back. You can say something like, "You can reach me at your phone number. I look forward to hearing from you." This gives the person all the information they need to get back to you.
It's also a good idea to let them know if there's a specific time that's best to return the call, especially if you're in different time zones. For example, feel free to call me back anytime between 2 and 5 p.m. It makes it easier for them to know when to reach you. Yes, and if that time doesn't work for them, they might say, "I'm not available then, but how about Thursday at 10 a.m.? It's important to be flexible when scheduling calls, especially if you're coordinating with someone in a different time zone or with a busy schedule.
Once you've agreed on a time, it's a good idea to confirm the details. You can say, "Great, I'll call you on Thursday at 10 a.m. I look forward to our conversation." This ensures that both of you are on the same page.
Phone etiquette is essential, especially in professional settings. For example, when answering the phone, it's polite to say, "Hello, this is Jennifer. How can I help you?" It's clear, professional, and welcoming.
And when you're calling someone, always wait a few seconds after the other person picks up before you start speaking. It gives them time to adjust and ensures they can hear you clearly. You can also avoid talking over them by listening carefully and waiting for a pause before you respond.
Another tip is to make sure you're in a quiet place during important calls. Background noise can make it hard for the other person to hear you, which can lead to confusion. If you're in a noisy environment, consider stepping outside or finding a quieter area before making the call.
Bad phone connections happen, and it can be frustrating when you can't hear the other person clearly. In these situations, it's best to stay calm and try to resolve the issue. You might say, "I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that? Or it seems we have a bad connection. Can we try this call again later?"
Yes, and if the connection drops completely, try calling the person back right away or send a message explaining what happened. You can say, "I think the call got disconnected. I'll call you back in a few minutes." This shows that you're proactive and respectful of their time.
In cases where the connection is really poor, you might suggest switching to a different communication method, like a video call or an email, especially if it's an important conversation.
When you're on the phone, speaking clearly and at a comfortable pace is key. It's easy to speak too quickly, especially if you're nervous, but slowing down helps the other person understand you better.
Exactly. If you're unsure whether the other person understood you, you can check in by asking, "Did that make sense?" Or, "Would you like me to explain that again?" This keeps the conversation clear and makes sure there's no confusion. When you're calling to ask for help or information, it's important to be polite and direct. You can start by saying, "Hi, I was wondering if you could help me with," and then explain what you need. Being clear about your request will make it easier for the other person to assist you.
Yes, and always thank the person for their help, even if they couldn't provide exactly what you were looking for. You might say, "Thank you for your time. I appreciate your help," or "Thanks for checking on that for me." It shows politeness and leaves a positive impression. If you're calling to confirm details, whether it's a meeting or a reservation, you want to make sure everything is clear before the call ends. You can say, "Just to confirm, we're meeting at 10 a.m. on Friday at your office, correct?" This ensures that there's no misunderstanding.
And if you're receiving information, like instructions or a phone number, it's always good to repeat it back to the other person. You can say, "Let me repeat that to make sure I've got it right." This shows you're paying attention and prevents any mistakes later on.
That's a great point. Double-checking helps avoid confusion, and it also shows the other person that you're serious about getting the details right.
We've all missed calls, and it's important to handle them professionally. If you miss a call and see a voicemail, make sure to listen to the message before calling back. It gives you context so you can respond appropriately.
Yes, and when you return the call, you can say something like, "Hi, this is Jennifer. I missed your call earlier. I'm just calling back to follow up." This shows that you're proactive and respectful of their time.
If they didn't leave a voicemail, you can still return the call with a simple, "Hi, I noticed a missed call from this number. How can I assist you?" It's a polite way to address the situation without assuming what the call was about.
When making a phone call, especially for business or formal settings, introducing yourself is crucial. You can start by saying, "Hi, this is Jennifer from ABC Company. I'm calling about," and then state your purpose clearly. It sets the tone for the conversation and helps the other person know who they're speaking with.
And in informal settings, you can still introduce yourself briefly. For example, "Hey, this is Thomas. Just wanted to check in about." Even if it's casual, it's polite to let the other person know who's calling right away.
Exactly, and it also makes it easier for them to respond quickly, as they're not left guessing who's on the line.
Group calls can sometimes be tricky, especially when multiple people are involved. To make it easier, it's important to let everyone speak without interrupting. If you want to contribute, you can say something like, "I'd like to add to that point," before jumping in.
Right, and if you're leading the call, it's a good idea to call on people by name when asking for their input. You can say, "Jennifer, do you have anything to add?" This way, everyone gets a chance to speak without talking over each other.
Another helpful tip is to summarize the key points discussed at the end of the call. You could say, "Just to recap, we've agreed on," and list the main takeaways. This makes sure everyone is on the same page before the call ends.
When someone has helped you over the phone, whether it's providing information or assisting with a task, it's always important to express your thanks. You can simply say, "Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it."
Yes, and if it's a more formal setting, you could add, "I look forward to working with you," or "I'm grateful for your assistance on this matter." It leaves the conversation on a positive note and shows that you value their time.
Even in informal calls, a sincere thanks goes a long way. It makes the conversation more pleasant and strengthens your relationship with the other person.
Difficult phone calls can be stressful, but staying calm is key. If the other person is upset or frustrated, you can acknowledge their feelings by saying, "I understand how you're feeling," or "I'm sorry you're going through this." It helps de-escalate the situation.
Right, and it's important to avoid interrupting them while they're speaking. Let them explain their concerns and then offer solutions. You might say, "Let's see how we can fix this," or "I'll do my best to help resolve the issue." Being patient and understanding can make all the difference.
If you don't have an immediate solution, it's okay to let them know you'll follow up. You can say, "I'll look into this and get back to you as soon as possible." This shows that you're taking the issue seriously.
Sometimes, during a phone call, you may not fully understand what the other person is saying, and it's important to ask for clarification. You can say something like, "Could you please repeat that?" Or, "I didn't quite catch that. Can you explain it again?" Asking politely shows that you're engaged in the conversation and want to get the details right.
Yes, and you can also use phrases like, "Just to clarify," or "Do you mean," followed by what you think they're saying. This helps ensure that you're on the same page, especially when dealing with complex information.
Exactly, and it's better to ask for clarification rather than guess or assume. It saves time in the long run and avoids any potential misunderstandings.
Ending a phone call professionally is just as important as starting it. You can wrap up by summarizing any actions that need to be taken, like, "I'll send you that document by the end of the day," or "I'll follow up with you next week." This makes sure both parties know what to expect.
And don't forget to thank the other person for their time. You can say, "Thanks again for your time. I look forward to hearing from you." It leaves a positive impression and shows that you appreciate the conversation.
If it's a more casual call, you could end with, "It was great catching up. Talk to you soon." It's still polite, but feels more relaxed.
When you're scheduling an appointment over the phone, it's important to be clear about your availability. You can say, "I'm available on Thursday morning or Friday afternoon." Which works better for you? Offering options makes it easier for the other person to choose.
Yes, and once a time is agreed on, it's a good idea to confirm the details. You might say, just to confirm, we're meeting on Friday at 3 p.m. at your office, correct? This avoids any confusion and ensures that both of you are on the same page.
Exactly. And if you're not sure about the exact time or location, you can ask them to send a follow-up email or text with the details. That way, everything is documented.
Leaving a voicemail can be tricky because you want to be concise, but also provide enough information. Start by introducing yourself. "Hi, this is Thomas from XYZ Company." Then briefly explain why you're calling, like, "I'm calling to follow up on our meeting last week."
And it's always helpful to leave your contact information, even if you think they already have it. You can say, "You can reach me at 555-1234. This makes it easier for them to get back to you.
Also, end the voicemail politely by saying something like, "I look forward to hearing from you," or "Thank you for your time." It leaves a positive impression and encourages them to return your call.
Technical issues happen during phone calls, especially if you're on a cell phone or using a virtual meeting platform. If you can't hear the other person clearly, you can say, "I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you speak a bit louder?" Or "The connection seems to be breaking up. Could you repeat that?"
If the call drops, it's polite to call back as soon as possible and say, "I'm sorry, the call got disconnected." Let's continue where we left off. A quick and polite follow-up shows that you're still engaged in the conversation.
Yes, and if the issue persists, you can suggest rescheduling or using another method of communication, like, "It seems like we're having technical difficulties. Would you prefer to continue this conversation via email or another time?"
If you're running late for a scheduled call, it's important to apologize right away. You can say, "I'm so sorry for the delay." "Thank you for waiting." A brief acknowledgement shows that you respect the other person's time.
And if the delay was significant, you might want to explain the reason without going into too much detail. Something like, "I had an unexpected meeting," or "I was stuck in traffic" is sufficient. The key is to focus on moving forward with the conversation.
Exactly, and you can also offer to reschedule if necessary. You could say, "I understand if now isn't a good time. Would you like to reschedule?" This gives the other person the option to continue the conversation when it's more convenient for them.
When calling to speak with someone specifically, it's important to be polite and direct. You can start by saying, "Hi, this is Jennifer. May I speak with Mr. Johnson, please?" This shows respect and sets a formal tone.
Yes, and if they're unavailable, you can ask when would be a good time to reach them. Or could you let them know I called? This keeps the conversation moving smoothly without sounding pushy.
If the call is for a casual situation, you can still be polite by asking, "Is Thomas available?" It's less formal but still shows that you respect the other person's time.
If you need to put someone on hold during a phone call, it's courteous to ask for their permission. You can say, "Would you mind holding for a moment while I check that information for you?" It shows that you're being considerate of their time.
Yes, and if they agree, it's important not to keep them waiting too long. If you think it will take more than a minute, let them know, like, "This may take a few minutes. Would you prefer to hold, or should I call you back?" This gives them the option to choose what's more convenient. And if they are on hold, remember to thank them when you return to the call. You can say, "Thank you for holding. I appreciate your patience." It keeps the conversation polite and professional. Sometimes you may need to manage multiple calls at once. If another call comes in while you're already on one, you can politely ask the person on the line, "Would you mind if I put you on hold for a moment? I have another call coming in this way." You're showing respect for both callers.
If you're juggling between calls, it's crucial to keep both conversations organized. You can switch back by saying, "Thanks for holding. Where were we?" This helps the other person remember the context and feel that you're still fully engaged.
If it's not possible to manage both calls, you can say, "I'm currently on another call. Can I call you back in a few minutes?" Offering a solution keeps things professional and ensures the conversation can continue smoothly later.
Misunderstandings can happen during phone calls, especially when communication isn't clear. If you notice the other person is confused, you can say something like, "I think there might be a misunderstanding. Let me clarify," and restate your point in a clearer way.
If you're on the receiving end of a misunderstanding, it's okay to ask for clarification. You can say, "Could you explain that again? I'm not sure I understood correctly." Asking for more information can help resolve the issue and keep the conversation on track.
It's always better to address misunderstandings directly rather than letting them linger. Clear, polite communication ensures that both parties understand each other, and it can help avoid problems later.
Following up after a phone call can show that you're organized and professional. You can start by reminding the person about the previous conversation. "Hi, this is Jennifer. I'm calling to follow up on our conversation last week about the project."
It's also helpful to recap any agreed-upon actions or deadlines. For example, you mentioned sending the proposal by Friday, and I wanted to check in to see if you needed any further details. This shows that you're attentive and on top of things.
And don't forget to thank them for their time, especially if you're asking for something. You could say, "Thanks again for taking the time to discuss this. I appreciate your attention to detail."
Dealing with an angry caller can be challenging, but it's important to stay calm and professional. Let them express their concerns and then acknowledge their frustration. You could say, "I understand that you're upset, and I'm here to help resolve this."
Try to empathize with their situation without taking it personally. Phrases like, "I see why that would be frustrating," can help diffuse tension. Then offer a solution or next steps. "Let me see what I can do to fix this for you."
If the situation can't be resolved immediately, let them know you'll follow up. For example, "I'll need to check with my manager, but I'll call you back by the end of the day with more information." This shows that you're actively working on the problem, even if it can't be solved right away. It's also important to ask for permission to continue. You might say, "Do you have a few minutes to discuss this further?" This respects the person's time and makes the conversation feel less intrusive.
And be prepared to answer questions or objections. For example, if they ask about the price, you could say, "Our product is competitively priced, and I'd be happy to send you a quote if you're interested." Offering next steps can move the conversation forward. Sometimes you might find yourself dealing with an unresponsive caller, which can make things awkward. If the person is quiet or seems distracted, it's okay to politely ask, "Are you still there?" Or "Is this still a good time to talk?"
If they continue to be unresponsive, you can offer to reschedule. You might say, "I can give you a call back later if this isn't a good time." That way, you show respect for their time while keeping the conversation professional.
Sometimes the silence might be due to a connection issue. You can clarify by saying, "It seems like there might be a connection problem. Should I call you back?" Offering a solution helps keep things moving forward. Leaving a voicemail can sometimes feel awkward, but it's an important skill. You want to be clear and concise, making sure the message is easy to understand. Start by introducing yourself. "Hi, this is Jennifer from XYZ Company."
Then, state the purpose of your call and any necessary details. For example, "I'm calling to discuss the upcoming meeting on Friday. Please call me back at your earliest convenience." Make sure to include your phone number and repeat it slowly.
Also, keep it polite but brief. You don't want to leave a long, drawn-out message. Something like, "Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from you soon," wraps it up nicely.
When making a business call, professionalism is key. Start with a polite greeting like, "Good morning. This is Thomas from ABC Corporation. I hope you're doing well today." This sets a positive tone right away.
Next, get straight to the point of the call. You could say something like, "I'm calling to follow up on the project proposal we discussed last week." This keeps the call focused and efficient, which is important in a business context.
Before ending the call, summarize any next steps or actions. For instance, "I'll send over the updated document by the end of the day." This shows you're organized and clear about the next steps in the process.
If you're ever unsure about something during a phone call, don't hesitate to ask for clarification. You can say, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat what you just said?" This shows that you're paying attention and want to fully understand the conversation.
It's also helpful to summarize what you heard to confirm you've understood correctly. For example, "So, just to clarify, we're meeting at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, correct?" This avoids any potential misunderstandings and keeps things on track.
Clarifying information is a key part of professional communication. It's better to ask for clarity than to proceed with uncertainty, especially when important details are involved.
Sometimes you need to politely end a call without seeming rude. You can do this by using phrases like, "I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll let you go now," or "I think we've covered everything for now, so I'll let you get back to your day."
It's also a good idea to thank the person for their time. For example, "Thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it." This shows gratitude and leaves the conversation on a positive note.
Before hanging up, it's helpful to confirm any next steps, such as, "I'll send you that information later today, and we'll touch base next week." This way, both parties know what to expect going forward.
Sometimes you might have to take or make a call in a noisy environment. In these cases, it's important to acknowledge the noise up front. You can say, "I'm sorry, there's a bit of background noise here. Let me move to a quieter spot."
If the noise is unavoidable, consider rescheduling the call. You could say, "It's quite loud on my end right now. Would it be okay if I called you back in a few minutes when I'm in a quieter place?" This keeps the conversation professional while acknowledging the situation.
It's also helpful to speak more slowly and clearly when there's background noise. This makes it easier for the other person to hear and understand you, even if the environment is less than ideal.
When you need help or assistance over the phone, it's important to ask politely. You could start by saying, "I'm wondering if you could help me with something," or "Would you mind assisting me with this issue?" This sets a respectful tone for the conversation.
Once they agree to help, be clear about what you need. For example, "I need help resetting my password. Could you walk me through the steps?" Being specific makes it easier for the other person to provide the right assistance.
And don't forget to show gratitude after they help you. A simple "Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it" goes a long way in maintaining good communication.
Sometimes you might have to handle a difficult or frustrated caller. In these situations, staying calm is key. Start by listening to their concerns and acknowledge their feelings. You can say, "I understand why you're upset, and I'm here to help you with this issue."
Try to avoid interrupting them, even if they're venting. Once they've explained the issue, calmly offer a solution. For example, "Let me look into this for you, and I'll see how we can fix it." Offering a solution helps to defuse the situation.
If the caller is particularly aggressive, it's okay to set boundaries. You can politely say, "I want to help resolve this, but I need us to keep the conversation respectful." Staying calm and professional is always the best approach.
Asking for a favor over the phone can sometimes be tricky, but it's all about the approach. Start by being polite and respectful. You can say, "I hope it's okay to ask, but I was wondering if you might be able to help me with something."
Be clear about what you're asking for and why. For example, "I'm in a bit of a bind and was hoping you could cover my shift on Friday." Providing a reason helps the other person understand the situation better.
If they can't help, be gracious. You might say, I completely understand. Thank you anyway for considering it. This keeps the relationship positive, even if they're unable to do the favor.
Scheduling a meeting over the phone can sometimes be more efficient than email. Start by confirming the other person's availability. You can ask, when would be a good time for us to meet?
Once you've discussed times, be clear about the details. For example, so we'll meet on Thursday at 10 a.m. at the office. Does that work for you? Repeating the time and place ensures there's no confusion.
Before ending the call, it's a good idea to confirm once more. You might say, great, I'll send a calendar invite to confirm. This way, both parties are on the same page about the meeting details.
If you're confirming an appointment over the phone, it's helpful to repeat the details to avoid any confusion. For example, I'm calling to confirm my appointment with Dr. Smith on Wednesday at 2 p.m.
If there's any change in the schedule, make sure to clarify it right away. You could say, if there's a need to reschedule, please let me know. I want to make sure everything is set. Apologizing over the phone can feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's important to do it sincerely. Start with a straightforward apology, like, I'm really sorry for any inconvenience I may have caused.
Then, take responsibility for the mistake. You can say, I realize I made a mistake and I want to make it right. Offering a solution shows that you're serious about fixing the issue.
Finish by asking if there's anything else you can do to help. For example, is there anything else I can do to resolve this? This shows you're committed to making things right and maintaining the relationship.
When you need to transfer a call to someone else, be clear about what you're doing. You can say, I'm going to transfer you to our customer support department. They'll be able to assist you with this issue.
Make sure to let the caller know why the transfer is necessary. For example, I'm not able to help with this specific issue, but our customer support team can handle it for you. This helps the caller feel reassured.
Before transferring, confirm that the person is ready for the transfer. You might ask, is it okay if I transfer you now? This ensures they're not caught off guard and helps maintain smooth communication.
Making a cold call, especially for business, can be a little nerve-wracking. Start by introducing yourself and your company. For example, hi, this is Jennifer from XYZ Company. I hope you're doing well today.
Get to the point quickly but politely. You could say, I'm calling to share information about a new product we're offering. This keeps the call focused and shows you respect their time.
If the person isn't interested, remain polite. You can say, thank you for your time today, and feel free to reach out if you change your mind. Ending the call respectfully leaves a positive impression, even if the sale doesn't go through.
Sometimes you might need to handle a personal call while you're at work. In these situations, keep the call brief and professional. You can start by saying, I'm at work right now, but I wanted to check in quickly.
If the call needs to be longer, let the person know you'll call them back. For example, I can't talk at length right now, but I'll call you back during my lunch break. This helps you balance work responsibilities while staying in touch.
Always be respectful of your work environment. If the call is personal but urgent, try to find a private space to talk so you're not disturbing others around you.
When it's time to wrap up a phone call, especially a long one, it's helpful to give a clear sign that the conversation is ending. You can say something like, it's been great catching up, but I'll let you get back to your day.
If there's any follow-up required, confirm the next steps before you end the call. For example, I'll email you the details we discussed and we can touch base next week. This keeps everything organized.
Ending with a polite and friendly tone is always a good idea. You could say, thanks again for your time. Talk soon. This leaves the conversation on a positive note and makes the other person feel appreciated.
Miscommunications can happen during phone calls, but the key is to stay calm and clarify things. You can start by saying, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. Let me clarify what I meant.
It's important to listen carefully to the other person's side of the story too. You might say, could you explain what you understood, so we can make sure we're on the same page. This ensures both parties have the same understanding.
Once everything is clear, you can move forward with confidence. For example, great, now that we've cleared that up, let's move ahead with the next steps. This keeps the conversation productive and positive.
Before diving into business, it's often helpful to make some small talk to create a comfortable atmosphere. You could start with, "How's your day going so far?" Or, "I hope you've been well." It's a simple way to connect ...
If the person responds positively, you can keep the conversation light and friendly. For example, "That's great to hear. I've been keeping busy with work, but it's always good to take a break and catch up."
After the small talk, smoothly transition into the business part of the call. You could say, "I'm glad we got a chance to chat. Let's go ahead and discuss the project details now." This keeps things professional while maintaining rapport.
If you need to leave a voicemail, make sure your message is clear and concise. You can start with, "Hi, this is Thomas from XYZ Company. I hope you're doing well."
Next, get straight to the point. "I'm calling to follow up on the project we discussed last week. Please give me a call back when you get a chance." It's important to be specific so the recipient knows why you're calling.
And with your contact information, you can reach me at 5551-34. Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from you. This makes it easy for them to return your call and keeps the message professional.
If you need to make a complaint over the phone, it's best to stay calm and polite. Start by explaining the issue clearly, like, "I'm calling because I received the wrong order, and I'd like to get it resolved."
Be sure to provide all the necessary details, such as order numbers or dates. For example, I placed my order on October 1st, and the reference number is 12,345. This makes it easier for the company to address your complaint.
After explaining the issue, ask for a solution. You could say, "Could you please let me know how we can fix this?" This approach is polite yet firm, which increases the chances of a positive resolution.
Following up after a phone interview is a good way to show your interest in the position. You can start by saying, "Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me earlier. I really enjoyed our conversation." Next, reinforce your enthusiasm for the role. For example, "I'm excited about the opportunity to join your team and contribute to the company's growth." This reminds them of your interest and qualifications. And by offering any additional information they might need, please feel free to reach out if you need any further details from me. I look forward to hearing from you. This leaves the door open for further communication while showing your professionalism.
Interruptions can happen during phone calls, whether it's a knock at the door or background noise. When it happens, politely ask for a moment. "Sorry about the interruption. Could you give me just 1 second?"
If it's something that will take longer, be honest about it. You can say, "I'm dealing with something right now. Would it be all right if I call you back in a few minutes?" This shows respect for the other person's time.
When you return to the conversation, briefly apologize again. "Thanks for your patience earlier. Let's pick up where we left off." It's a courteous way to handle any unexpected interruptions.
Ending a business call on a positive note leaves a lasting good impression. You could say, "It's been great working through this with you today. I'm looking forward to our next steps."
Before hanging up, confirm any action points. For example, so just to recap, "I'll send over the files and we'll reconvene next week." This makes sure both parties are clear on what needs to happen next.
Finally, express your appreciation. "Thank you for your time today. I really enjoyed our discussion, and I'm excited to move forward." Ending with gratitude ensures the conversation concludes on a friendly, professional note.
When making calls across different time zones, it's important to confirm the best time to speak. You can say, "I know we're in different time zones, so what time works best for you to talk?"
Always be mindful of the other person's schedule. You could follow up with, "I'm available at 10 a.m. my time, which would be 2 p.m. your time. Does that work for you?" This shows consideration for their time.
After scheduling, confirm the details in writing. For example, great, I'll send you a confirmation email with the time in both our time zones, just to be sure we are on the same page.
During a conference call, it's essential to introduce yourself clearly, especially if multiple people are on the line. You could start with, "Hi, this is Thomas speaking from the New York office. Can everyone hear me?"
Make sure you allow space for others to chime in. For example, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this before we move forward. Does anyone have anything to add? This keeps the conversation collaborative. When wrapping up a conference call, summarize the key points. So, to recap, we've agreed on the next steps, and I'll follow up with an email by the end of the day. This ensures clarity for all participants. If you missed a call, it's important to apologize and offer to reconnect. You can start with, "I'm sorry I missed your call earlier. I was tied up with something urgent."
Then suggest a time to speak. "Can we reschedule the call for later today or tomorrow? I'm free at 3 p.m. if that works for you." This shows you're still interested and committed to reconnecting.
Acknowledge the inconvenience caused. "I appreciate your understanding, and I apologize again for the missed call." This polite approach helps maintain a positive relationship despite the mix-up.
If you're in a noisy environment when making a phone call, it's best to be upfront. You could say, "I'm sorry about the background noise. I'm in a busy area right now, but I can still hear you clearly."
If the noise becomes too distracting, offer to call back. "It's getting a bit too loud here. Would it be all right if I call you back in a quieter place?" This ensures a smoother conversation later.
When you reconnect, thank them for their patience. "Thanks for waiting earlier. I'm in a quieter spot now, and we can continue without any distractions." This shows respect for their time and effort.
If you need to transfer a call, it's important to explain why. You could say, "I'll transfer you to the right department to assist with that. Please hold on for a moment."
While transferring, make sure to introduce the other party. "I'm transferring you to John in our customer service team. He'll be able to assist you with your issue." This helps ensure a smooth handover.
After the transfer, follow up if needed, just checking in to see if your issue was resolved. "Please let me know if you need any further assistance." This leaves a positive, lasting impression. Well, that wraps up our conversation about making phone calls in English. We've covered everything from setting up a call to handling interruptions, small talk, and leaving voicemails. These tips will not only help improve your English, but also build your confidence during phone conversations.
Remember, phone calls are a great way to practice your listening and speaking skills. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll feel handling different situations. And don't forget, staying polite and clear will always leave a positive impression.
Thanks for joining us today. Keep practicing, and soon you'll be mastering phone calls in English with ease.
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep learning and happy calling.